Welcome back, peoples, y'all, whatever. This is episode, I think, 40 of the Mindset
40.
Effect podcast. Yes, with Kevin and
Bro, we need to be more
Andrew.
confident when we say those episode numbers.
I am freaking confident.
You had like a questioning tone right there.
Yeah, well, I was making sure I didn't get it wrong like you did the one time. No,
Hey,
but
I
yes.
was confident. I was confident.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But today we're going to be talking about stress, kind of stress culture. You know, we always hear about like hustle culture, and I think this pertains to that a lot because you have so many people who try to almost flex on each other of how stressed they are. And I don't think it provides much value to them because I remember being in high school talking to somebody about all these things that I had coming up. And the more that I would talk about it, the more stress that I would get. And it was something I kind of realized because like he kept saying, he was like, why are you stressed, dude? Why are you stressed? And like, as he would say that, I would focus on it more and I would try to like think about it more and more and more. And it would get to a point where it was just such a big thing that I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so like for that, because I was thinking about an interview that I had later that day and I was like so stressed about it. And like after I finished the interview, I was like, all of that stress really provided no value for me. And I think so much of stress is super pointless. And I do think there's value in it because it makes you prepare for things. I've gotten to the point where a lot of times I'm much less stressed than the average person would be about things. And so I think that causes me to not prepare as much for them. School tests are a great example of this. And so I think stress is good, but I think you have to really make sure that you're not going overboard with it or trying to like flex on other people because of like, oh, I'm more stressed than you because I'm doing more than you, which almost kind of relates to hustle culture.
So I think the key thing here is the frame. I think people are looking at this in the wrong frame. They're framing stress as something negative, something bad for you. Well, not something bad. I guess something.
I mean, I think they
bad.
are. I think you're right on that point.
Yeah, something bad in a good way, right? Like they're like, I feel this much stress, which means that I must be doing way more work than you are. Because if you're doing no work, you can't be stressed possibly. So I think it's that frame. It's a very negative frame that people are promoting and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is just funny though, because it's like, as I mentioned, it's like you do have to make sure that you keep stress as somewhat of a positive thing. And I think so many people, they just focus on it as a negative thing too. I think there's definitely a balance here of look at stress as why am I stressed? Like, let's not get overboard with the stress, but make sure you realize that it is sort of a good thing because it's forcing you to make sure that you prepare for whatever that interview is or that test is. Because it's just like every type of pain. Our brain makes us feel pain because it's protecting us from something. It's protecting you from going into that test all confident and then absolutely bombing it because you didn't study enough. It's like making you stressed so that you actually take the time and the steps to prepare for that thing. And so I think you have to see stress as not as much of a negative thing, and you also have to see it as not as much of a positive thing.
Interesting. So I think let's have a situation. We have two frames, right, for stress. I think so. Let's say you are preparing for a job interview, and let's look at two frames. So one frame, so in both frames, you're super stressed, right? Stress is pretty. Stress is dependent on the frame, right? So in one frame, you feel like this tingling feeling inside your body, and you're just like, fuck, man, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't know what to do. And like basically like in that frame, you just see stress as, something very negative. And you're like, fuck, what do I do? And you talk to all your friends about it, right? Because it's the sort of culture that's being promoted right now where people just keep talking about all the stress they feel, how much work they have to do, not work, but in this scenario, it's more like the person they're going to meet and, the company they're interviewing for. And so that's one frame, right? Another frame you could look at it in is like, like I feel, a bit anxious, right? I feel a bit excited about, this opportunity to work at this new company and this opportunity to, grow my career and stuff. So I think that is a much better frame for stress, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think in anything you do in life, you're always gonna encounter challenges. And I think knowing that, hey, I'm feeling a bit of, anxiousness, a bit of, that tingling feeling, like don't see it as stress, but see it as, you know, a precursor to something good, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't grow through, no difficulties. You always grow through overcoming some sort of difficulty. And that's where the satisfaction lies too, when you overcome something like difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I made this app a while ago, and when I first started, I literally did not think I could make it 100%. Like based on the tools that I had and the knowledge I had at that moment, I didn't think it was possible. And honestly, working on it, like I wasn't stressed, but like there were like hurdles, right? I felt like tingling feelings inside of me sometimes, like shit, can I do this? Like if I can't do this, like it's gonna like the project's dead and shit. So I think just knowing, like reframing the way you look at stress.
Yeah, and I think, you have to use stress to make yourself prepared because, again, you'll only be stressed, at least to a major extent, if you feel that you aren't actually prepared for something. And so, like, you have people that go into job interviews super stressed because they know that they didn't really prepare as much as they could have. I either like maybe they are over exaggerating that and they actually did, but in a lot of cases, I think people go into a test or something and they're all stressed out because they spent barely any time studying and they know they're going to fail because they didn't put in the work to actually get there. And it's just something that I think, especially people in college campuses, do wrong. Is like for finals week, their de-stress events are like all these fun events where you just go out and do random stuff that isn't very productive. And in my mind, I'm like, this is completely counterproductive because if you want to decrease your stress, you should be preparing for that test so that when it comes to test time, you're like, I'm ready for this. I don't feel as stressed because I think I'm going to do well. I'm confident in my ability to do well in this. But if you're spending all this time trying to de-stress, you're going to get to that test and you're going to be like, I did not spend time preparing. Like, I am going to
This
fail
is such
this.
a nuanced topic because it's like they have these de-stress events because people are feeling stress even before finals, right? They're
Hmm.
feeling stress. um, It's so weird. It's like you can feel stress like a week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before. Like it just depends, right?
Hmm.
I think the whole point of these de-stress events is, you go in, you loosen up a bit, and then you go study. Because it's hard to study when you're like feeling anxious, feelings. Because it's like you feel stressed and you try to study, and you're just like you can't stop thinking about whatever it is you're thinking about. So I think the de-stress events, it's like you go there with this stress, and you come out, with your stress loosened a little, and then you can go back to your room and study a bit.
Yeah, but I also
Right?
think this is almost kind of like the video game addiction kind of thing because you are also, I think, doing it to escape that reality a little bit of like, I'm escaping the reality of what's happening in my life because I don't want to think about it. And then after I'm done with that, I feel guilty and I'm like, shoot, like I'm in an even worse position than I was earlier. And then to escape that reality, you go and do it again. And then after that, you feel worse even more because you're like, I'm still wasting all my time. And then to escape it, you go right back and do it again. And so, like, I think, maybe it's okay to do some de-stress events, but I think you have to make sure you're being careful because there are plenty of people who would just go to all of them and then take the test and absolutely bomb it because they were the whole
Yeah,
time
no, I'm
trying to
not.
avoid that reality.
Yeah, no one's promoting going to every fucking stress event.
Yeah.
Go depending on how you feel. I think it's super useful. It's like it's like learning. It's like breaking a bad habit, right? You don't break a bad habit by you know not making a major change, right? And so breaking a bad habit like involves a lot of willpower initially, and once you get over that hurdle, then your bad habit becomes not a good habit, but it becomes less of a bad habit, and you're able to do it that way. And so the way I see it is like these stress events, they're like it's like that it's that like that catalyst in the situation. So like it's a super good like it's super good catalyst.
Hmm. Did they always work for you? Personally, I didn't think that de-stress events really ever did anything for me.
Well, I've never been in one, so
Yeah.
wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
but
think
based on what it sounds like, I think it's pretty useful. It sounds pretty useful, but just don't like be too addicted. Like
Yeah, I think self-awareness is like always the name of the games. You have to be able to look at this and be, like you have to be able to decide like what your reasoning is for going to this. Am I going because I want to escape my current reality, or am I going just because I need a few minutes to like relax, get my mind off of things, and then go back into the grind? It's like,
yeah, it's
just
like
make sure
dude,
you're not trying to escape your
yeah,
life.
it's like when my mind is just like so like out of whack, and I just talk to a few friends, and then I get back to doing work. Like it's
Hmm.
like that, Like
Yeah.
I feel yeah, like you talk to people that are like doing shit. Like I've talked to Andrew before, and I feel more motivated to do work afterwards. Same
Hmm.
sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm also, I think something that's also really valuable is I'm a big advocate for taking like really quick power naps. So like, if you won't replace like these party things or whatever with like a 20-minute power nap, Like I think that can be really valuable as well, especially if it's like in the middle of the day or later in the day, because then you come out really more energized, and you don't have that risk of like being way more tired after.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of naps. I
I
wish
think
to
if
try.
I think if you do them short enough, then they're good. I think so many people go and do them for like 3 hours and they feel terrible after. But it's like, if
Three. I feel like a 3 hour nap would make you even more stressed.
yeah, I think that'd be terrible. But yeah, it's like I think if you can just do like a really quick nap, it can be very, very helpful. Um, and it's also honestly just a good reset because like, I've had a lot of times where my mind was on something and then I took a quick nap and then after, I wasn't thinking about it as much and kind of just gives you like a hard reset, kind of like
Yeah,
restarting a
it's good.
computer.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to just forget some things, so it's
Hmm.
good. Yeah. So I think stress is like, I think yeah. So frame is. I think the most important thing about stress is the frame. The frame
Hmm.
you look at stress, and like how do you even get stressed in the first place? Right? You get stressed out because you. I think the biggest thing is like you've set unrealistic expectations for yourself. Right. That's how stress comes about. Um, well, like major stress. I'm talking about major stress. I think minor stress is like not too bad because I think minor stress helps
Yeah.
people grow. But the way people get major stress is like they have this objective, they have this goal they want to achieve, but they fall short by a long shot, and they just feel so depressed. It's like a kid that's like, I'm gonna get into Harvard, and then they apply to like all the Ivies. They don't get to a single one, and like they apply to
Hmm.
their fucking um, uh, what's the middle one called? There's safeties, there's the reaches, and then there's the 50-50. So the matches, yeah, they apply to the
Never
matches,
heard
and
them
they
called
they,
that.
so they apply to the matches. The schools that they should be getting into, they have a good chance of getting into, and they fucking get rejected, and then they apply their safeties, and they get rejected. They get accepted to their safeties, and they're like, fuck, man, safeties, IVs, like, and they just feel depressed as fuck, and especially, dude, I swear in China, like. They have like this test called the Gaokao, and it's like this test you take in high school that determines what college you go to. Uh, yeah, and basically, like, there's a lot of people that suicide every year after taking the test because of how much stress they feel because they set this unrealistic expectation for themselves. They're like, I want to get into, the best school in Beijing or something, and they don't get into that school. And it's also like parental expectations, like the
Hmm.
people that influence
Yes.
them as well. Like the parents are like, dude, you have to get into this good school, and if you don't, well, fuck you, or like you're not my
Yeah.
child anymore. That actually happens, 100%, and that causes a lot of stress to them as well. That's interesting. Yeah. So I think environmental factors
Hmm.
also a huge role in stress.
Yeah, yeah, it's like I think this is why it's like we beat this drum all the time. You have to really be careful about the people that you're listening to, and the people that push you, and like the things that they push you on. Like obviously, you want people that'll push you to be better and stuff. But if you have people who are like, you have to achieve this, or I'm just not going to talk to you, or parents that are like that, even if it's family, you've got to have that conversation, because that can be really dangerous for you as an individual.
100%. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts?
Um, I think so. I think this will. So we talked earlier about like, you have to be careful about how much you're talking about the stress that you have. I think, because humans can focus on things, and again, it's just the typical story of what you look for, you find. So if you're focused on stress, you're going to find stress in everything. You're going to be like, instead of you going to work and being a minute late, it's now, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna get fired, like all of these things, you're going to make it go way worse than it probably will be. And so
You
I
see, I
think
think
you'll.
something else that helps so much that I've done quite a lot in the past year is being present in the
Mhm.
moments, right? Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Uh, I don't know. Someone's just leaving shit on Slack, but whatever. I think something that really helps is like being present in the moment, right? Because um, see, this is why I was like, dude, I want to learn improv because I want to be even more present. Because improv, like, there's this quote, right? Like, improv is like driving a car, but only looking at the rearview mirror. Like, you don't
Mhm.
give a shit about what's in front of you. You only care about, what's happening right now and what you can deal with. And I think that's the sort of mentality like you should go about like with most of your day. Give me a sec. The timer
Yeah.
just went off.
Yeah, and it's like I think you have to look at stress, and or like I think you have to look at what is causing your stress as like the problem, and like how do you want to go about solving that problem? You know, it's like is complaining about it and telling everyone how stressed you are, is that going to solve the problem that you have? Like, is that going to make you do better on your test? It's like it's probably not going to. So this is like why I was talking about earlier. It's like, you know, for these tests that you might be stressed for, is telling everyone how stressed you are going to really
Also,
be super beneficial.
I think talking about this gives you an identity, gives you an identity you want to hold on to, and I think
Hmm.
that's Jesus. Oh my God, that's actually genius. So, here's a thought. So, people talk about stress and they attach this identity of, you know, I'm feeling super stressed out to themselves, and basically like they don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose
Hmm.
that, and so just sticks to them,
Yeah, and what I think
and it's super
people put
bad.
themselves in categories because of this. You know, people talk about having anxiety, and you know, I don't know too much about like actual medical anxiety or whatever, but you know, I think a lot of people probably self-diagnose themselves with having anxiety when they actually don't. And you know, it's like you're not necessarily an anxious person; you just have anxious habits. And I think you can definitely get out of those in a lot of cases. Obviously, there might be ones that are it's a really a brain thing, but I think in a majority of cases, you probably are definitely capable of getting out of that. And I think you just have to get out of the habit. You know, this is dealing with stress, I think, is such a habit too. You know, you get in the habit of either blowing things way out of proportion,
Yeah,
making them
it's
way
a
worse than they
conditional
are.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you either make it way worse than it is, or you make it, you know, just where it needs to be, or you make it like not a problem at all, and then you just bomb everything. And so it's like you got to find that balance, I think.
Yeah, I think that's also the difference between a successful person and a pretty unsuccessful person. Successful people, they have stress, but they approach it differently. They have this frame. They have this frame and mindset of, you know, this is, they expect it. You should always be expecting stress in your life.
Hmm.
And I would just say stress is like challenges, right? You're always going to have face challenges in life, and you should expect them. And when they come, try your best. Like try your
Yeah.
best to overcome them. And I guarantee you, most of the times, like you will find ways to overcome them. Like no matter how impossible it seems, or you know how unlikely it seems. Like I think when you think like that, you will always get things done, right? Like because it's like you can never. It's like that phrase where like, you know, a person who earns like $100,000 a year, like they're only thinking in terms of like tens of thousands, right? Hundreds of thousands. They're not thinking in terms of millions. They're never going to reach that next level. And
Hmm.
millionaires, they're thinking in that next level where those people want to be at. So I think if you want to get somewhere, you got to think on the next level and think big, and believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities. That will get you past a lot of things in life.
I agree. That was a
Yeah, and
pretty
stress,
good ending.
and then at that point, like stress is just like another like minor thing. You know, stress
Hmm.
is like pretty minor at that point, honestly.
I think we ended there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah,
Guys,
so
check us out on freaking YouTube.
yeah, subscribe, like, comment. You know, help us out in the YouTube algorithm, and
Yeah.
also make sure to check us out on other platforms where we host the Mindset Effect. And yeah, give us a good review. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye
Peace.
bye.